Give the people what they want. Yo! Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Friday, the 1st of March. This is a significant Friday. Firstly, Pommy, hello, mate.
Hey, how are we all doing?
We're doing good. Welcome to the very first episode of Media Watch here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. I'm so excited for this. This is going to be fun. This is going to be very fun. Pommy, maybe you can let us know, because this was really your idea. What are we doing?
Well, I mean, the idea is we're in a world now, aren't we, where everything's at our fingertips. You can find out what Patrick Crips has for dinner. So the media love to fuel the interest that is now, because of channels like this and because of social media, everything is information, isn't it? But the problem is how do we digest the information, and how do we get away with narratives that are preordained in the press to stimulate conversation, but also stimulate unrest, because unfortunately it sells. So the idea is, I thought maybe because the technology is so great, we've forgotten the art of only one of us being able to read, and he reads us the article in the pub, and then we discuss it from that, because we all listen to the same thing, we all hear it. So I thought it's going to be a great exercise for us maybe to learn what the media are trying to get out of it, what information is actually there. We're in the age of clickbait articles. I've already been victim of clickbait today, because I did a Mark Pitternet video the other day, and people have assumed from a 30-second clip I'm bagging Mark Pitternet, where if you actually watch the whole video, I'm actually sticking up for him. So there it is. Taking snippets sometimes don't present the whole picture. So this is what this show's about. We're going to read the article in full. We're going to condense it for each other. And hopefully we're going to find an opinion that sinks to the truth.
Yes. I think the solution to the issue is critical thinking. And I think, again, we live in the misinformation era of the world, where a sentence in a full article can be put as text on a photo and uploaded to Instagram, and then the mind goes where the biases are. That's how it works. That's where it goes. And we've all got biases. That's the truth. We all do. So in the most respectful and critically analytical way possible, we're just going to bring up a few examples of what we've seen in the media and some of the things that you guys at home have sent through to us. We'll go through them, critically analyze them, look at the for, look at the against, and try and decipher whether or not enough research has been done or not. So, can we just start with Damien Barrett? Because we got to go there. We got to go. We have to start there. That's what we're gonna begin with Damien Barrett. Cheers, Damo, for giving us the fucking content we needed today, of all days. This one was good. This one was the prime example of what this show is going to be about. Pommy, what do you think of when you see this? When you read and see this, text and image.
The image is my favourite, to be fair. It's the muted celebration. Yeah, I mean, it's like he's finally... That image to me screams, I've finally got one. Like, if you said how many goals did he kick from that image, I'd say 1 goal late.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've chose the only celebration he didn't look happy. So, firstly, well done, Damo, for that one. Like, winding people up is hard, but finding a picture to mirror your wind up is even harder. So I'm impressed with that. But this is, I don't mean to be harsh, because a man sat not far away from me once told me that I've become everything I've hated, and technically I am the media, which I've never fully recovered from. But I do think if you're being paid 6 figures, right, I do think it's really disingenuous that if you write shit articles. Do you know what I mean? Just for the process of winding people up, because there is so much going on in here. He's chosen a Essendon legend is the fix, but he's also used the Essendon legend as a pot shot at Carlton, basically saying he doesn't like Carlton. And There were so many players in that game that kicked, I would say, worse than McKay. So it's a very interesting article, this, because this article here is everything that's wrong with the media in Australia. It's going to wind 95,000 Carlton fans up, which in turn is going to get clicks, which is then going to in turn get 17 other clubs saying McKay is shit. So it's one of them articles for me. What's the point? Like, you're getting paid for this. Let that sink in. Damien Barrett got paid for this. Got paid. Legit paid.
Let's unpack this. If Harry McKay is still spraying kicks at goal in a 2024 scratch match, then unfortunately there's no reason to think this season will be any better than the past ones. So deflating for him and his team, given his other high-end abilities. Here's a suggestion. Get him well away from goal, although his field kicking is no better. And here's another one. Get Matthew Lloyd as a personal coach. Lordo doesn't come cheap, and he hates Carlton, but this reached the break glass in an emergency stage a long time ago, and investing in Lordo would have a tenfold return. Now, Damo, Mr. Barrett, Sir Damien Barrett. Couple of things here I want to bring to all of our attention. So, still spraying kicks at goal in a 2024 scratch match. How many kicks did he spray at goal on Wednesday night? Does anyone remember? My count was 1.
Yeah, you had the
an
shank,
actual spray, a shank. Right. Although his field kicking is no better, where's the evidence? All good to make a big grounding statement. Where is the evidence of this? Is that just does that make this opinion? And if it is opinion, what is it backed by? Now, our great friend, I should have brought this up, great friend, Mr. Carlton Blues fans, literally posted a video with all of Harry's elite field kicks from last season with this quote, which I love how we're all on board with this keeping the media accountable. But the way Damien Barrett has written this article, and I understand it's difficult to write about 18 clubs, but at the end of the day, Pommy, like you said, he's paid. This piece here, this little snippet here is frivolous, it's vexatious, and it lacks substance. There's one thing, and the most important part is fans who read this and buy into it. That's the most frustrating part. Harry is someone who is literally improving on this exact facet of his game. There was an article written about this exact topic, which came out in The Age yesterday, and the technology that they're using to improve his goal kicking and what they did. Pommy, have you read this article? And audience at home, are you aware of the article in The Age about Harry's goal kicking?
I haven't actually read that one.
So let's get it up. This is a big thank you to Up the Baggers. Essentially, what Harry has done in the offseason is, has anybody played NBA 2K or FIFA? If you have, you'll know that the players in the offseason put the suit on with all the sensors and they kick, they move, and they help to create the gameplay. Harry did this in the offseason. So the process involved wearing a monitoring suit to gather data on his movement and speed while kicking for goal. Computer game programmers use similar technology to capture the motion of soccer players, etc. I'm not going to read it all out, but look at this. And this was what Harry had explained on the Ben and Harry podcast. He's identified the issue, right? Couple of things, broke it down, couple of things technique-wise. A lot of it was really good. One or two little things that had been ingrained for years and years that was going to be important to try and undo. I've got a little step just before I kick, which I'd always known I had. And I really hated watching myself kick because I knew I had a little step. With the data, you could see your momentum would build up, and then I'd take a little step and all your momentum would drop and you try and chase it again, identifying the issue. I've been doing that since I was basically a kid. Over the summer, I've been trying to undo that because it was killing my momentum. Highly recommend you read the article. So all of a sudden, we now understand what the issue is. It's been identified. We now know what he's going to be working on. I actually had a TikTok back and forth comment this morning with someone on TikTok that said, Harry has no technique. So I referred to this article, and the person replied saying, I don't need to read an article. I have my 2 eyes from the practice matches. We beating a dead horse, Pommy?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, the thing that annoys me is there's a real... If you ever are a big fan of science, the art of science is ascertaining the truth. So they always use observation, visual observation. But for visual observation to become fact, it has to be backed up with something that is repeatable. Hence data. So the field kicking is in that article my favourite, because Harry goes career-wise, well, let's check it, but off the top of my head, I'd say it's around 61%. Yeah, so field kicking 61.2% in his career, which as a key forward puts him in the upper echelons of hitting targets. That's like, we're talking pretty good. Do you know what I mean? If a key forward does that, because they're not known to do that. They're not known to do that. So I feel like this is one thing that annoys me. Observation is so primitive now. I've seen it in golf coaching where it used to be eyes, cantankerous old people with their eyes and their observations. And obviously you've seen Harry. He's gone now the technology route with the balls on him. So you can see the things, see the mechanics of his action. We're talking now that it's insane the levels that these players are playing to, but it's also insane. And I always feel that sportsmen are the 1%. To become a professional sportsman, you're in the 1%. To become good as a professional sportsman, you're in the 1% of the 1%. So there has to be a bit of respect shown that you are simply in the minority of people to get there. And this is why I have a bugbear with the media, because people are lazy. If a media journalist of Damien Barrett's reputation, which is quite high, says he's a shit kick, no one's going to look and see, is he a shit kick around the ground? They're not going to, right? And it's amazing. Observation is such a weak thing. You'll remember the shank kick. You won't remember the one where he turned on one step and booted a goal. You'll remember the shit kick, though. You'll remember the one that went straight right when he kicked it. And looking at the evidence you're showing now, Harry hits targets. So, it's an article that for me, I understand what Damien's doing. It's good marketing, but they all do it. That's my announcement. You'll know this year in this show, everyone makes a bait article. Very few go through the truth. And this is my issue. The data's restricted. The copyright is the highest it's ever been using any footage of the football, right? Any football footage. The media have the monopoly on that, and none of them are offering a service where they try and tell the truth. And that's what annoys me. If you're keeping it all for them, at least use it right. Respect the data, respect the players a little bit.
Mate, well said. Well said. Going to play one more clip in the Harry McKay theme. Listen to what you're about to hear.
He'd be an unbelievable centre-half-back, Harry McKay. Unbelievable centre-half-back. His ability to read the ball, mark the ball. He's got leg speed, take all the pressure about his kicking. I bet you'd kick off half-back like Darren Jones.
Well, no, I don't know about that. He had a couple of field kicks last night as well, and he shanked them as well. They went off the side of his. But there's just something. There's unbelievable. There's still something technically that needs to be corrected about, isn't there? I know he's probably spent hours and hours and hours.
I'm going to pause there for a minute. Yeah, Tim and Gary, there is. And the article in The Age outlined it for you. You clearly haven't read the article. Clearly. So why talk when you haven't done the research is my question.
Hours and hours of doing it. But when you change a fault, it does take, what did they say, 10,000 hours to actually learn a skill and perfect a skill. It takes a long, long time to change something that has been with you for a long time, and the way that you prepare to kick and your ball drop, all that type of thing. So he's getting, well, let's hope he gets there and he gets more consistent with better delivery than even what we saw last night.
There's some Harry McKay. He'd be an unbelievable centre.
So that's the Harry McKay thing. But I think
unbelievable centre half back.
as I said earlier, it's the frustrating part. I actually am less frustrated at these opinions. I get more frustrated because I see our fans buy into it and then refuse to read the evidence which suggests otherwise. And that's the frustrating thing for me, because in order for Harry to get the best out of Harry, he's got to be able to eliminate the external noise. So any external noise that's added onto what is already there is not helping. In order to focus, you need to be calm. In order to be calm, you need an environment around you which allows you to be calm. It's very hard to do that at AFL level.
You know what I find bizarre is Damien Barrett's article alludes that Harry McKay's never had a good year. Like, people forget 3 years ago he was a Coleman medalist. I mean, like, so there's one. But the big thing is, and Luca makes a great point, these players, these guys who were just speaking on SEN, they have played the game at elite level. And Luca makes a great point about tennis. Golf is one of the most mechanically hardest sports in the world. So my job for 12 years was changing people's lifelong habits and learning a new one. It's incredibly hard. It's incredibly hard to identify, incredibly hard to master. And that is insane. Not many top-level sportsmen. I can think in golf, Tiger Woods being one great example, who have reached the top of their career and then changed something to make it better and more repeatable, which is what effectively Harry's doing. That little step, he won a Coleman with a little step. It might be the worst thing to do, lose all momentum mid-thing, but he's got rid of it because he wants to sustain and be better throughout his career. That's commendable, one. The media are very bizarre that we're now talking about changing him to centre half-back. And they work together. Damien Barrett and old mate from Melbourne, they work together. One saying he's a great field kick, one saying he's not. Like, get on the same page, boys, as well. If you're going to create nonsense, get on the same page. So it's incredibly fascinating, and it's an article there that I'm guaranteed Damien Barrett will do if the fans get on Carlton's back. Then Carlton fans can't be surprised when players take time off for mental health. That article will come at one point from Damien. And Damien's got to remember the kind of shit he's feeding to the world, because that article there has done more damage than good. It's not even a good article from Damien. And Damien's better than that. A man who wears glasses as low as he does should be putting a bit of time into what he writes.
So when I break it down, is Harry McKay, now that we know, and this is a question for those of you watching at home, now that you know, because the evidence has just been presented, that Harry has actually figured out exactly what's wrong with his set shot routine, and now he's actually outlined what is going to happen moving forward. Are you willing to give him the space to do that, knowing that he's going to shank a kick or 2 or 3 or 10 in this season? He will miss shots on goal, but he is actively working to fix this routine. It's going to take some time. Are you willing to give him that space and time is the question.
You've got to, haven't you? I mean, for me, when you go out there with the C monogram, like JJ there, comes from within himself, Terry. You can't ask the public to wrap it in common wool. I think you're right. We can't ask for the AFL world to wrap him in cotton wool, but as part of a fan, 100%. 100%. While he's blue and he's got the C monogram in, do you know what I mean? He has my time, my love, and I will cheer for him because it's his career. He needs us. Do you know what I mean? He needs us. He needs us to cheer him when he gets it through, so he forgets about his mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, look, there will be moments of frustration, no doubt. But it's going to be a process. It's going to be a process. So anyway, let's move on. What are we doing next?
Before we move on, I talked to a top-level striker in the UK, right? I'm not going to reveal his name, but he's gone through a lot of heat at the moment. And he was telling me, and he gave me this quote, and it stuck with me since I spoke to him. And he said, when you're playing well and you miss, you brush it off. Because he was like, you feel immortal. So he was like, you just brush it off. And he's like, what people forget is when you're playing bad, you take that home with you. You take that home with you with your wife and your kids. It's all you think about. So when you miss, the last thing you need is reminding you've missed, because he was like that. Everything is amplified. Everything's amplified when you miss. And he was like, and he said to me that when he went to see a sports psychologist, it was the tweets, it was the radio comments that made it worse, because it made him overtrain. It made him put too much pressure on it, because he was getting sick of Barry from down the street saying, this player's fucking shit. Sell him. Sell him. I would have scored that. And it amplified it in his mind. It amplified it in his mind. And he said it took him a while. And he is a mentally tough player and has been regarded for his toughness. But he said it was the outside noise that made him analyse it even more. And he said he had to get back to when he was playing well, which was where he said he didn't care if he missed, because he would like to be another one. But he was like, the commodity dries up eventually. So very important job we have as fans to help Harry. All right, dust off, kick again, mate. Just remember your routine. So very interesting that, but was very good insight from a top-level footballer.
It's fascinating. Fascinating. Should we go to Crips Media Day?
Yeah, I want to pick on all the journalists, so let's have Cripper where we don't pick on him.
So I'm playing the video that was up. Okay. So we're going to move on.
Learn from Uncle Crips.
Why are we talking about Crips's interview on Media Day, Pommy?
I think the good thing about when you listen to the things is, like last week we did Hamill. I think your direct contacts here are very important. I looked at Cripper's Media Day thing. Carlton released the full one. The media took snippets of what they wanted, and they did focus on Sam Walsh quite a bit, because that's the injury, isn't it? So I think it's really interesting when you hear from him. You're getting a direct source of information from Cripper. Cripper's talking to you about his club and his aspirations. So I always think it's good to see here that they are always going to misquote Crips, because there's an article just gone up while we're live that Crips chose Gorn as the player he wanted from another club. Why have the media done that? Because everyone's on Piternet's case and TDK's case, and Gorn beat them both. So it's very interesting, I think, when you hear the whole picture of Crips. I think Crips is probably the worst at hiding shit at the club. That's a big call, that. But for me, when I watch Crips, he's the worst, because Crips, you can see his public speaking is a gift. It's a skill he's learned, and he's been open about the struggle with that. So it's very hard for him to hide when he's hiding from you, because it's not a natural gift. Like Sam Walsh, it's a natural gift. He could probably lie to us and get away with it.
All right, let's have a listen. 3 minutes, 42 seconds.
But I don't really have an update, but he's had a full pre-season. He got a bit stiff, but he's actually going really well. I could train yesterday, he was running, so I think everything's sort of progressing nicely for him now. So other than that, I can't give you much more, but he'll play a lot of footy this year.
What's the latest on his
It's still bigger than mine, even though he hasn't used it for about 6 weeks. But he's going well, he's running again. So I think the aim is around North Melbourne in the Good Friday game. So he's a pro, he'll make sure he's back pretty quick. So yeah, unfortunate, but he'll make sure he's ready to roll when he's ready. Yeah, he's been great. He's had a pretty full pre-season for us. Great guy, very, very intelligent, really good for our forward mix. So.
How's the sound on this? Luca, echoing? Pommy, is that coming out good for you?
It sometimes echoes. It's inconsistent.
It
the
might
last
be my
10
mic.
seconds, it stopped echoing. So
Okay.
I thought it was my end. That's why I didn't say anything. I was like, maybe it's me.
All right, hang on.
I thought it was really impressive against Geelong, and then
It's not echoing now.
yeah, we have another hit out this week against Melbourne, and yeah, it's exciting. So he's we've got a lot of young small forwards, so to get into the club, not only from a sort of performance level, but also mentor some of these young forwards and these smarts, he's going to be a great sort of help for not only our forwards but our club.
Zach Williams, do you think he'll be there to start the season?
The way he's been training, I reckon he will. I'm not sure if he's playing this week or not, but he's done a lot of sort of inter-club matches and that. He's going to make us a much better side in terms of that sort of power and creativity off half back line. And he basically exited rehab the other day, so we got around him in the meeting. So he's done a power of work, and he had a really big year last year. So it's great to see him smiling.
You saw the best and the worst and the best of you last year. How are you feeling heading into this season? And there's a lot of expectation, not just outside but inside, about what you do this year.
Yeah, our expectations, mate, that's something we can't control, so I don't really buy into all that stuff. But we're really clear on what makes us a good side. I'm really clear on what makes me a good player, so I know what we've got to focus on, and that's exciting. You can either go into these years anxious or excited, and we're all excited. So we've done a power of work. We're really strong in our identity and our belief what makes us a good side. So we just want to get up to the gather and attack it and see where it goes. And there will be adversity throughout the year. It always happens when you play footy, but we've been through a lot as a group now that we know our way forward.
The Blues will play more prime time or just as much prime time as anyone else in the comp, I think, this year. Is that a good vote of confidence from the AFL on the way you play football and the style of football that Carlton plays?
I think there's a bit of that. I think there's also we're a club with a lot of passionate fans that bring great energy. So when we're up and about, there's a good buzz around town. So I know if you talk to any Carlton supporter and fan there, they can't wait for the year to kick off. But I see it as a privilege to play in those time slots. I grew up watching them Thursday, Friday night footy. That's big crowds, playing with your mates. That's what you want to do. So we're lucky to do that, and we'll make sure we play some good footy.
And just quickly, team to beat.
Collingwood is a team to beat because they're premiers. So, I think they've had a great couple of years. I think Brisbane are going to be really hard to beat as well. So, they're the two, obviously, grand finalists for a reason. I think we played Brisbane first and we got 2 cracks at Collingwood. So, they're the games you love to get up for.
Just that first game, is the G going to be ready after Tay-Tay?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just hope the surface is the same surface across the whole sort of the G. Last year when we played, it was sort of 2 different sort of surfaces on the ground, which part of it was good, part of it was really slippery. So as long as it's all in sort of one sort of bit of grass, and hopefully it should be good.
Grant, Zach Williams, mate. Terry, you're muted.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Flashback.
You're on mute. Oh, dear.
From there, I didn't.
That would have been hilarious. Why did you want to play that clip?
Well, I thought there was a couple of bits of interesting snippets from Cripper there. I thought the big one I wanted to talk about was identity. And he talked about not buying into the media hype, which was very good. And something stuck with me there. I was watching a wonderful podcast, which had some Liverpool players, and they were talking about Jordan Henderson and talking about, even though he might not be the best player, it was his communication and he was the identity of Liverpool. And how he was saying Klopp had got Liverpool to be good because they really bought in to each other, but also the communication on the field. People were talking and listening to Crips there. There was another article today which has just come out about everyone knows to play their roles, and there was a direct quote there from Carlton. Really important there from what Crips is really prioritising there. Gone are the days of fluffing it up and building it up to be something it's not. And it was about sticking to what they know. And I think that's a big turnaround from round 12 to now. Is Carlton are really focused on, we are what we are. We're not ashamed of it. And this is our way out of the struggle. This is the way out of Struggle Street. And I really thought that was very sincere. You saw Cripps' mannerisms. There was that little smile when he talked about the boys, talked about the club. And I think that to me excites me when you hear Cripps speak like that, because that's sincere, that's real, that's not soundbitey. It's probably not what some people want to hear. They want to hear we're winning a flag. But I thought there, Cripps is very process-driven, and ultimately process provides results.
He's definitely come a long way with the way he speaks, hasn't he?
He has. And I think part of that's maybe the way he's been honed at the club. But I think also a part of it is the club has moved on from trying to get you to sign up And maybe Crips believes what he's saying a bit more, as opposed to like when he was going out with scripts to say, we're going to come, we're going to win flags. And maybe Crips, I'm speculating here, putting words in the young man's mouth. Maybe he knew that was bollocks.
True. Okay. We're going to let's go to Sam McClure.
Oh, no.
And before we go to Sam McClure, I think our fans are in for a bit of a shock with where this one goes, because I think our fans got sucked in and didn't read or listen to the full context and critically analyze. And I'll explain why in a moment. Let's take a listen.
Okay, you ready?
I'm writing it down, Sam. Go for it.
Carlton,
Oh,
Port Adelaide,
hang on.
Brisbane,
Hang on. I can't write that fast. Port Adelaide, Brisbane.
Carlton, Port Adelaide,
Yeah, Brisbane.
Brisbane, Collingwood.
Right.
I think Carlton will finish top of the ladder.
And who's going to win the premiership?
Port,
Against?
Collingwood.
I couldn't stand Collingwood being in another grand final, Sam.
I think actually I know exactly what you mean, and I used to think that, but there was something about when Richmond started making all their grannies. I mean, I was living off Swan Street, so that helped. But
What, you got involved in that?
the fever of Melbourne,
No.
the fever of footy in Melbourne was. It was.
Yeah, but it goes beyond the fever of footy in Melbourne. Carlton at the moment, well, I think we share it with Essendon and now Collingwood, isn't it? 16 premierships.
16 apiece, yeah.
Yeah, so they'd go to 17. Can't
Okay.
do it.
Okay. So the context of this was that on the 7th of February, Sam McClure spoke about, I think the quote was something along the lines of, if Charlie Curnow doesn't fire, Carlton could miss the 8. Then that moved to another episode on Wide World of Sports, 3AW, where he was talking about Carlton should be premiership favourites, and if you don't agree with that, you're not watching the game properly. Then we moved to that top 4 / ladder / premiership prediction, where he's predicted Port to beat the Pies in the grand final. For whatever reason, the Carlton we got all up in our grill about it, but no one actually stopped and thought about it for a moment. Is it possible for a team to finish on the top of the ladder and the top 4 and not win a premiership? Yes, it is. So my question is, how did we miss the context of what was being said, and why did we get sucked into that?
I'd never defend Sam McClure, right? Far be it from me. I've had a lot of issues with Sammy. Obviously, his opinions have changed, missing the 8, and then 2 weeks later, we are the favourites. I did feel this one here, though, was, again, why we've got to look at context. Favourites, and Paolo's in the chat, favourites don't always win horse races. Do you know what I mean? I'm a big advocate of this, and I've fallen a cropper with what Sam McClure's had when I've done my prediction videos, where I've said these team are favourites, and then I've done the projections and they haven't won the flag. And last year I had to defend this, going, well, I think they should win it, all being fit and healthy, but I think they'll get beat. I think they'll come a cropper. So I do feel for him on this occasion, where he hasn't actually, for me, I never see favourites as going to win it. I see that's me thinking if everything goes to plan, they win it. But it's professional sport. It doesn't always go. So this is where I feel like you've got to look at the context of what he said. Favourites, I disagree with. I think that was ridiculous. But just because he says the favourites doesn't mean he thinks they're going to win it. That's his opinion. And when Sam McClure said the week before, Carlton will miss the 8 if Curnow doesn't kick goals, you can see what the formula isn't probably sound in logic. Let's be honest.
But if you have a Carlton bias you're taking those comments and you're looking for a reason to be mad at a journo. So in this show, I want to go both ways, not just shit canning journos, but also looking at things that we may have missed as well. Because if you just were on Instagram or on TikTok and you just saw the clips, it would be very easy with a Carlton bias, which, let's be honest, we probably have as Carlton supporters. It would be very easy to formulate the opinion that, oh my God, what's Sam saying? Is he a real Carlton fan? Is he this? Is he that? But if you actually listened to the whole thing and understood the context and, I'm going to say it again, critically analysed it, it would be very easy to understand Carlton in this scenario would win a lot of games, finish on top of the ladder or in top 4, and for whatever reason, still not win the flag, which happens a lot in football.
Mate, spot on. And do you know what I mean? I like them opinion pieces from the media because I agree with Lou. I don't think Sam believes Porter winning the flag. I think it was off the cuff. He was thrown a question, and that's where I kind of like the media, where you're putting your opinion in an obvious opinion way. I think my bugbear with Sam McClure, and we're not doing that today, but is a lot of times his articles are probably the most clickbaity anti-Carlton. Do you know what I mean? He's trying to invoke a reaction. But on this occasion, I think when you've got to understand the difference between favourites and what will happen. And Paolo, thankfully, coming to my defence. If favourites always won, we'd all be billionaires. That's the thing. Sport is never linear. It's if you could create an algorithm that predicted everything without human instinct, you would be a billionaire. And that's the wonderful thing about sport. It doesn't go to plan. So, I mean, we could analyse it. Do we think Porter winning the flag? Look, I'm going to make the bet I made last year. If Porter win the flag, I'll quit YouTube. That's how confident I am it won't happen.
We'll see you in 6 months and see what happens. Okay. So the final one on the agenda, Pom, I'm going to let you do this, right? So this is in relation to the top 20 players from the age, Mark McGowan. So why do you want to talk about this? What's going on here?
So Mark McGowan is probably the master in the AFL media world.
Pommy, we're losing you. Let's get him out of here and bring him back in. You got to reset, brother. Might have to carry the torch here. This is tough. We'll give him a few seconds, and then we'll bring this article back up. But basically, it was the way in which this, the context of why we're bringing this one up is around how, in this case, data has been used. And so that's a tick. However, data can be manipulated towards a bias, and Pommy's going to show us how. So when he fixes his camera and his mic, we might get this one going. In the meantime, Jared, thinking and critical thinking are two different extremes. Critical thinking gives you base with research and analysis. With thinking is everyone thinks, but the thinking without any thought. You lost me. You lost me. Yeah, you've actually stumped me there, Jared. So essentially what we're looking at here with this article, hang on, is here. Let's get him in. Let's get him in. In other words, people talk a lot of shit with no evidence. Well, it's true. That's very true.
We are.
Pommy, welcome back.
Sorry, my computer randomly blue screened mid-sentence. Mark McGowan hacked me. But no, my argument here is Mark McGowan's probably the closest we have to what I do. He tries to use data and he tries to analytically deduce the game, which I genuinely respect. But I wanted to talk you through how I go through these articles and why I try and do what I do, because I think these articles are very interesting because when you first look at them, you think, okay, we're going to get a definitive top 20 age 21 and younger players in the entire AFL. And this is why it's really important, because I've seen a lot of comments on this from all 18 clubs arguing about it. So as we scroll down, he's made it all pretty. And
I also like,
yeah,
I just want to add in there, Ollie Holland's not in the top 20, which is fine, no problem. But we'll use Ollie Hollands' photo with a Carlton Guernsey on. Anyway, continue.
But then this is it here. You come to the first bit, and this is what bugbears me. So when I try and present data and stuff, I like to give you the median and the process. So the criteria was simple. They had to have played more than 10 games, right? Do you know what I mean? Which, okay, sensible. You've got rid of the clowns if you're doing data. You've got to do that sometimes as well, because some people could play 2 games and be world beaters and they'd be ranked number 1, right? And then you've got this extrapolation comment I want you to focus on. Now, extrapolation for me, as soon as I see this, right, it's the definition is by estimating or assuming that existing trends will continue in the current method in which they may be applicable. Now, as soon as that happens, this is where you've got grey areas, because technically, by definition, that 10 games we've deleted means we could do it. So this is why you've always got to look at these articles. It's a great piece. A lot of work has gone into it. I'm not dissing that, but you've got to look at it. And then we have the list of names straight away who have been deleted. So there's some names that I would maybe argue are top 20. I'd say players like, obviously, Bailey Humphrey. Jake Bowie, I was surprised, isn't in the top 20 because I think he's a terrific footballer. Ollie Hollands, obviously Elijah Hewitt. Then obviously you've got Harley Reid, Sam Darcy, because they've deleted the top 10. But this is what I do when I read this article, because we've obviously got some admission that we've manipulated the data a little bit. We've weighted it to small forwards, key defenders and things like that, which I always find entertaining. We have to scroll down to the bottom because this is usually why. Usually when these articles come, I always go straight down to the top 3 and go, right, what are you trying to tell me? Now, I think it's probably a fair call. Nick Dacos is the best player. I think there's not many people that would argue with that. I might be wrong, but I would say if we did a poll, 95% would say Nick Dacos is probably the best under 21 footballer in the league. Would that be fair?
I think so.
Talk to me, chat.
I think so.
But
this is where... Yeah, sorry, go.
No, but this is... You'll find this quite often when they do these datas. There is a preordained method. Either they've not rated someone or they've tried to get him there. But notice he mentioned that they've not tried to make it favoritism to key defenders and stuff like that. You've always got to look at midfielders. Midfielders are always going to be rated highly no matter how you manipulate the data, because they are the only part of the ground that is involved defensively and forward. Do you know what I mean? So they're always going to be. Very hard for a key defender to be rated in the top 20 because midfielders, if they do their job, the defender doesn't have to defend. And if they don't do their job, the forwards are never going to kick goals. So very interesting one. Good article by Mark, but one that really requires what Terry's saying, critical thinking. When you look at this, you have to see what they're trying to get out of it. And my big bugbear with this is Mark hasn't told us what the criteria is. He's just told us what it is. He hasn't shown the working. And if you're at school, show me your working.
True. In your maths test, when you get your answer, you've got to show how you got there.
Mate, it's so important. Like, you're looking now, one of the biggest net spends in AFL at the moment is data, right? And it's because it changes things. It changes things of what the eye can see, it can prove, but it also tells you other areas. And Mark McGowan's the master of doing these things. But these articles can still heavily be manipulated. So next week, I'm going to create a manipulation model. We're going to actually manipulate data, and I am going to preordain the outcome. So you can use any data, and it's very important when you use data. When we did the rating show, just to take you through it, I tried to take all my opinion out of the data when I made that model. So what I tried to do was make players I didn't like from other clubs, but knew they were good, the guinea pigs for this. So I didn't try and sex up the algorithm so Chincotta would get higher marks because I like him, right? So I took someone who's the best at what he did statistically and by the eye and said, right, we're going to compare players of this guy because I know he's good. And that's very careful you can do, but you can manipulate. Great example, Cam Paulson in his first 5 games, you could quite easily find data that makes him better than Gary Ablett Jr.
I mean, listen, we were calling Liam Stocker Luke Hodge.
That was opinion based, remember?
Yeah. So I think in summary, I think a big reason for doing this is because it just gives us something to summarize, but also I see a lot of these articles actually ingrain themselves in our fan base, and these opinions form based off these articles. And maybe people don't even realize it's happening. And that's why it's so important to make sure the full context is always received. So that means if it's a quote from an extended script from a video, watch the original video, look at the body language, look at the mannerisms, because it's very easy to be misled in this day and age.
Mate, Spawn, a great example is YouTube. So you're all on YouTube. Right? I'm not going to name them, but everyone's doing ladder predictions at the moment. It's like, I mean, fuck's sake, we've got Bucky doing a ladder prediction, and Bucky fucking hates them. And fair play, it's actually a really good video. I really enjoyed it. So shout out to Bucky there. It was a good one to see him finally join the dark side. But there was 3 YouTubers the other day that did ladder predictions. They put that horrible thing, who's going to win the flag? And they had Carlton and Collingwood as the pictures, and neither of them won the flag. But it's that classic clickbait that Collingwood fans were like, brilliant, this guy's going to say I've won it and I like him, and Carlton fans would do, only to be disappointed that I think he had Brisbane winning it. But it's that thing there, that clickbait is everywhere, and journalists are great with the whole articles. Do you know what I mean? Because one of the articles that was about Crips talking about Walsh was Sam Walsh set to play round 0. Crips never said that, but he insinuated he'd be good and he'd play. But it's how they just focus you in when it's not really legit. Do you know what I mean? You've always got to look at that.
True. I actually enjoyed David King and Lee Montagna and Hutto on First Crack talking about the Blues. They were critical of certain things, such as the fact that our forward line seems to be potent on the outside. But when you look into it deeper, it's the one line on the field that still needs improvement. Fair. I think the other one was about DeConing not really being a forward option yet. If you haven't watched it, go on the Fox Footy YouTube channel and watch it. I don't want to play it here because I feel like it'll be copyrighted. So that's a shame. It will be, yeah. So that's why I don't want to play it, because I can only see it.
Let's grow the game. But if you try and grow the game, we'll fucking copyright you. There you are.
So anyway, that was fun. So moving forward, if anyone watching this sees an article or a clip or a video online that you think would be a good example to unpack on this show, tag either Pommy or myself, and we will bring it to our attention. And we can use, I don't know if every Friday will work because we might have a game on a Friday night, for example, but where we can do a Friday live, we will. So just bear with us. We also will have a fresh thumbnail for this show. It's not ready yet, but rest assured, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Pommy, anything else? That was fun. I love that,
mate. Fun, and yeah, like I say, chat. If anything pisses you off, annoys you, send it in and we'll deduce it. And the aim of the exercise is to try and get the merits, but also try and get the understanding of what they're trying to get out. Because most things have an ulterior motive when they're produced. I make content. I have ulterior motives. I try and be objectful, but I have an ulterior motive of something I'm trying to get across. And sometimes it does cloud the way you present the information.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, 7 p.m. tonight, I filmed my season preview for the Blues. It'll come out tonight, 7 p.m. So tune into that. It's exciting, mate. It's real now. When you get the season preview out, it's real.
Oh, I mean, we should do a social media watch as well, shouldn't we? Just see what everyone's saying.
Well,
I mean,
that's maybe
split
mate,
right down the middle of some of the comments. I tell you,
we will need to feature ourselves on this show at some point, no doubt. No doubt.
Oh, I've made dozens of fuck ups.
Oh my god!
I own them. I own them. Oh, bring back Darren Fisher. We look slow.
No Brisbane for me. No Brisbane for me. I'll be watching from home, which will mean the fan cams will start pretty soon after the final siren, which is great. Rat Poison. Oh, that's an interesting name. Still not sold on Carlton. They need to get a few young guys putting pressure on the first team. Yeah, we've got to get some guys back in the side too.
That would be a great album name if you were an emo band.
No update on Marchie. I have no idea. Surely we're going to get an injury report at some point. Webby, absolutely everyone has an agenda, my friend. Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes it's not about the club. Easy Carlton finishes top. We win the premiership and win the Brownlow. Yeah. Evidence-based. I love it.
I can't believe Paul's quoting tweets in the chat to wind me up.
Any new merch this year? Yes. So, yes. The answer is yes. There will be a collaboration coming out soon with Doing a Bit. And then the brand new BA merch will come out on the 6th birthday of Blue Abroad. So that's an exclusive right there. I've told nobody that except you, Jimmy. Only you. No one else is actually listening.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Pommy, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. Have a great weekend. See you at 7 p.m. for the season preview. And Sunday, I believe, we have an open training. I won't be there. Paul Sebastiani will be doing a training report, I'm led to believe. The Almost Blues brothers will be there, and they will be here Sunday evening. And then BA show Monday. Bring it on. Have a great one, everyone. Go Blues.
Go Blues.